The Rainbow Cup is still on. That was the news, I think, over 24 hours ago now. There's been speculation for days that it's going to be cancelled, and it's not been cancelled, but it's pretty much been cancelled and rejigged to an extended Pro 14, a new Pro 14, and a new Super Rugby Unlocked. That's the way I'm looking at this, people. I'm sure most of you guys have heard the news that the Rainbow Cup is still going ahead in a northern and southern format. They weren't able to get the South African teams green-lit for entry into Europe. They did say all options for the South African teams to travel to Europe had been exhausted. They are disappointed, but they ran out of time. They've been looking at a whole bunch of options, including a potential layover for a quarantine period in the Middle East, as well as other undisclosed places, but they were not able to get permission to travel. So the South African teams will need to remain in South Africa. Kind of no surprise that organising a intercontinental rugby tournament during a pandemic is tough. Me, perhaps a bit naively, was optimistic that it would all go ahead. Now, it is still going ahead, but it's just separately going ahead. So, like I said, I get that they have to keep the thing going in terms of their own reputation. They can't just can the thing after putting everything into place. But it's essentially just the Pro 14 Part 2, isn't it? Because they put an abridged version of the Pro 14 in this year to make room for the Rainbow Cup. But now the same teams are going to play each other. So it's essentially Pro 14 Part 2 for me. And then the South African teams will still play each other. Super Rugby Unlocked minus some of the other teams they had been playing, kind of Part 2. So, I mean, you guys know me. I tend to be pretty positive about the game of rugby. Goodness me, maybe that's some kind of Freudian slip. I try to be positive about stuff. And believe you me, I am very happy to see any rugby being played during a pandemic. So, I'm not complaining. I am disappointed we won't see Bulls against Munster and Leinster and, the Sharks with Stia Kolisi having just moved there. Make trips to Ireland and Scotland and Wales and, the Italian teams going up against the Lions and stuff. That would have been great to see, but we're not going to get it. Not yet. All indications are. And I think what this does show, the fact that they didn't can it, they kept it kind of as it was without the travel, shows that kind of commitment that they are together. So they still want European fans to watch the South African games because it's still the Rainbow Cup. They would still want South African fans to watch the games up north because they want to get them kind of on the same page. These are teams that you will be playing week in, week out in the future when the Pro 16 gets underway. Hopefully next Pro 16, Pro 14 tournament year. But we'll have to wait and see. But yeah, so I think it's not a huge surprise. It's not canned as people thought it was going to be canned, but it is not what we wanted. Future partnerships still positive. That's one of the lines that came out of it, and I think that's pretty well reflected with the options they've gone. They're going to run the South African one down south. They're going to run the European one up north. But yeah, I'd be lying if I said my interest levels didn't drop a wee bit, but as I said, nobody's to blame for this. Maybe it was just too optimistic to try and get this underway in a pandemic. But yeah, I'll be interested to know your thoughts for you guys who are kind of diehard South African rugby or Pro 14 fans. Will you be following the Rainbow Cup the same way you would have before this news? Is it disappointing, or are you kind of not fussed? Are you kind of happy for it to keep going as it was? It's going to be an interesting one. Fingers crossed things around the world start to improve. I know it's still far from the end, but yeah, we'll have to see how things go. I'm optimistic, man. I figure we'll get there. Lions tour is the main thing. That one needs to go ahead. But anyway, we'll get this rugby underway at some point. You guys let me know your thoughts. Rainbow Cup, is it a farce? Is it good to have rugby on? Is it a bit of both? You guys have any thoughts? I'll talk to you soon. See you later.